Hey, welcome to Tabletop Skirmish Games. I'm Lee, and today we're going to be taking a closer look at the Scions of the Flame. Here we go, the Scions of the Flame. So these came in the Warcry Catacombs box set, and if you've picked up yours already, then you'll know how awesome these miniatures are. I mean, they look so great, and there's so much variation and different abilities. A really cool warband to add to the Warcry world. Here's the feature in the book that just tells you a little introduction to the Scions of the Flame, who are zealots and firebrands, warrior priests who seek to engulf the realms in a cleansing inferno. They worship chaos in the form of the ever-raging flame, a malevolent embodiment of the realm of fire, believing that both flesh and spirit are hardened and made greater in the searing crucible of its fury. And so the Scions of the Flame hunt and kill magnivores and ash salamanders, eating the blazing hearts of these creatures in strange pre-battle rituals. Those found unworthy are incinerated from within, unable to absorb such fearsome heat, while others become living torches, their weapons radiating intense flame as they carve their foes apart in the throes of religious ecstasy. The Scions believe that the fire, ignited by the ever-chosen's realm-spanning wars, will grow to swallow all living things, and so they seek to pledge themselves to Archaon's cause and earn a place in the fiery apocalypse to come. And if that doesn't sound awesome, I don't know what does. And here we go. So, well, we can see them in action there, in some great photography. And here's all the figures and miniatures while they're painted, and they look really great. And you can see here in the Catacombs book supplement, it shows you the different weapons that you can give each as well. Okay, so in this video, we're going to go through each of the miniatures, take a look at their cards, and then look at the different fighter types and the abilities to this warband. Before we do that, let's take a quick look. You get the dice, you get the tokens, and so you've got everything you need to play right there. So the Scions of the Flame, the Brazen Lord. This is a really awesome looking miniature. Let's take a close look. There he is. And so I haven't based these yet, so I'm going to paint them off the bases and then come up with a theme for the bases that match a bit of their background, which I'll do a separate video on, so look out for that soon. But there's the Brazen Lord, and here's his card. So on the backs of the cards you just see the kind of faction rune. So if you haven't seen these cards before, this is the faction rune mark, this is the movement, this is the wounds, this is the toughness, this is how many points, and then for the abilities, when you see on the ability card, this denotes who can do which ability. So if we look at that here, you'll see the faction rune mark, anyone in the faction can do these, but with these specific ones, you have to be part of the warband and have the symbol on your fighter card. So for example, the beheading strike, that's the matching symbol, so the Brazen Lord can do the beheaded strike ability. Okay. And then we've got here the weapon, and some of these have two, but so it'll always be the first weapon at the top. Some will have two weapons to choose from. So for this Brazen Lord, he's just got the one. Then we've got the range of that weapon, the attack characteristic, so this is how many dice you can roll for that weapon. This is the strength. Here is the damage, and if you roll a 6 with the dice, it's a critical, so you deal 6 damage, and if you roll anything that qualifies a hit, then it would be 2 damage. So with the damage, usually if strength is greater than the toughness, you need a 3 to 5 to hit, and then a 6 would be a critical. And then if the strength is equal to the toughness, you need a 4 or 5 to hit, and again 6 is always critical. And if the strength is lower than the toughness, you need a 5 to hit. So basically on any 6 is a critical, you're going to deal 6 damage. On anything else that hits is going to be 2. So that's the Brazen Lord. Okay, next we've got the Brazen Champion. Here he is. Really great looking miniature. And here's his card. So he's 170 points, 18 damage, 4 movement. Most of these are going to have the similar 4 movement. Toughness 4. He's got the axe, range of 2, 3 dice to attack, strength of 5, dealing 3 or 6. So he's a pretty tough character. And so with this one, there's no variations. He comes as you see him here. And that's the Brazen Champion. Okay, next we have this crazy looking guy called the Immolator. And he's completely aflame, running towards the enemy like a lunatic. Looking awesome. Let's take a look at his card. So he's 145 points. He can take 15 damage, movement of 4, toughness 4. He's got his Fists of Flame as his weapon, range 1, so again, wants to get up close and personal to attack. 4 dice, strength 4, dealing a 2 and a 5. And he just looks so good. He looks so cool. So that's the Immolator. And next we've got the Inferno Priest. So this is another great model. All these miniatures are just awesome. I can't wait to get them painted. They're going to look so good. And the Inferno Priest is 130 points, movement 4, 15 damage, toughness 4. And we've got 2 weapons here to choose from, each with different, so we've got a bit of range. So there's not many in here with range, so this is good. You've got 5 inches of range, 2 dice, strength 3, 2 and a 4. So not as strong as the others, but you've got a little bit of range there and some different abilities to play with. And we'll check out that specific ability later on. So that's the Inferno Priest. And now we've got the Fireborn. He's just looking in a real cool stance, just taking it all in, waiting for the battle to come his way. Here's his card. So he's 120 points. Again, 4 movement, 10 damage, toughness 4. He's got his axe. Again, 1 inch range up close. 4 dice, which is always nice. Strength 4 and hit on 2, criticals of 4 damage to the opponent. So that's the Fireborn. And next we've got the Fireborn, and I chose the Sunblade and Chris. So when I choose the different weapons for the fighters, I just go by how cool they look. I mean, it's not the most technical way of doing it, but I really like the kind of visual of seeing the Warband in action. So for all the Warbands I've built so far, I've just gone for the best looking weapons. But with the Fireborn, you've got a choice of the Sunblade, which I went with, or the Fireborn with the Sunblade and the Brazen axe. So you could choose that if you wanted to. And let's take a look at the card. Oh, and so it's interesting to mention that, so the 5 we've seen previously to the Fireborn, they all come as they are, so there's no options with the weapons. Those 5 come as you see there, so you can't choose different weapons for them there. Okay, so the Fireborn, we're looking at 115 points, all movements 4, 10 damage with a toughness of 4, and you've got the axe on this card, but as you can see, you get a separate card. So if you got and picked up another set of these, you could build the 2 different ones, and gives you a bit of option. But again, the movement, the toughness, the damage are all the same, and the points. But you can just see some variation here. Both 1 range, both 4 dice to roll. This one's a little stronger, so you've got 4 here and 3 here. but this one does more if you get a crit. So you could, if you wanted to, when you're planning out your warband, obviously look at the cards, look at these. I've seen people do spreadsheets, which is really cool if you want to get the kind of best fighters for how you want to play. But I'm more visual, and so that's the way I've gone. So that's the Fireborn with the Sunblade and Chris, and the Fireborn with the Sunblade and Brazier Axe. Okay, now we're coming up to the initiates. So this is where you get a lot more choice. So we've got 4 cards left here, which can give us lots of different variation. So let's start with this guy. There he is. So again, I just love the look of this mace swinging behind him. It's a really cool pose, so I chose that one. But you could go with these other choices here. So this one character has a choice of 3 different weapons, and that's the hooked axe, the flame burst pot, or the morning star. So I went for the morning star, and I think it looks awesome. Points wise, for these 3, the hooked axe is slightly more points at 65 compared to 55 and 55 for the morning star and the flame burst pot. Movement's the same, toughness and damage are the same. With the flame burst pot, you do get an extra ability there that we'll look at in a second. But other than that, we're looking at different options of range. So if you wanted to add a bit more range to this warband, because they are quite an up close and personal warband to play, this might be an option if you want that extra range. Otherwise you've got the other 2 here, which are just 1 and 1. So lucky for me, I picked this because it looked cool and I got 3 range out of it, so that's nice. All the strengths are 3. This one here, the axe, gives you a little bit more. You get an extra dice, so it could be worth the extra 10 points there to get that extra dice. But otherwise they're pretty similar on hits and critical hits. And the final one is this lady here, another initiate. This time you get the choice of the brazier weapon or the flame burst pot. And there we go, I went for that. I like the pose, the swinging back, coming round. I think that's awesome, with just a little bit of flame there. Okay, and with this is 65. You get an extra ability that we'll look at in a second. Again, movement of 4, toughness 3, hits 10, and range 1, so another up close. 3 dice, strength of 4, dealing a 1 or a 3. And that's the initiate with either the brazier weapon or the flame burst pot. Oh, sorry, it comes with both. So it's the brazier weapon and the pot. So I think both of these, let's check, both of these have got the flame burst pot there. Or she's carrying it on the side. I think that's what it refers to, actually. Yeah. So we've got the brazier weapon, one of these, and then the flame burst pot that's being carried. Great, so that's the initiate. So you also get these divider cards here, and this is for, in case, say, for example, you've got 2 initiates with the brazier weapon, flame burst pot. You can, but you've only got 1 card, so you can use this divider card, and this card can then act for more than 1 model. And this would be, so this would be model number 1, this would be model number 2, or you could use like 1, 2, 3. I think this is good for the campaign section as you start to grow your warband, starting from 1,000 points. Once it goes up to 1,300, 1,400, then you can start adding more and more characters. So you're going to need this, or you could buy another pack, another weapon warband, and get more cards. So, but this is really good. So if you want to duplicate your warband members. Okay, so we've looked at each of the fighters, and now let's look at so we've seen all the fighter types, let's look at the different abilities. So everyone in the Warband can do this one. So this is again the faction rune mark, and being part of the faction means you automatically can do this one. So this is the Fiery Might. So if you get a double, you can use that double to do the Fiery Might ability, which until the end of this character's activation, add half the value of this ability, rounding up, to the strength characteristic of attack actions made by this fighter that have a range characteristic of 3 or less. So it's a bit of a sentence, bit of a mouthful, takes a little bit of breaking down, but everyone of the Warband can do that one. Okay, so now let's look at our Brazen Lord and see what abilities are specific to him. So he can do the Beheading Strike. So add half the value of this ability, rounding up again, to the damage points allocated by critical hits from the next attack action made by this fighter, this activation that has a range characteristic of 3 or less. So that's on a double, and that's for this icon here. And I can also do on a triple, Ignited Fervour. Until the end of the battle round, add 1 to the attack's characteristic of attack actions that have a range characteristic of 3 or less made by friendly fighters while they are within 3 inches. While they are within 6 inches of this fighter. This is good, how he can kind of empower his teammates to get stuck in and give them some extra abilities. So he's got 3, so he can do the Fiery Might, Beheading Strike, and Ignited Fervour. And next we've got the Brazen Champion, and so he can do the Fiery Might, and he can also do the Beheaded Strike. And now the Immolator can do Fiery Might, and he's got on a triple the Inferno. Roll 1 dice for each visible enemy fighter within 3 inches of this fighter. On a 4 to 5, allocate 1 damage point to the fighter being rolled for. On a 6, allocate a number of damage points to the fighter being rolled for equal to the value of this ability. You can get him up close to a few fighters. That could be quite a good move. And, he's dealing out some damage there already. Next is the Inferno Priest, and they can do the Fiery Might plus on a quad, Engulf in Flames. Pick a visible enemy fighter within 3 inches of this fighter and roll 6 dice. For each 2+, allocate a number of damage points to that fighter equal to half the value of this ability, rounding up. In addition, for each 6, roll 1 extra dice as above, and so on. And that's crazy. So again, get up close, get in amongst them, and use that quad there. And then if you're rolling 4 6s, you're going to do a huge amount of damage to a lot of players with her. So this is really good. Now we've got the Fireborn. So we've got Fiery Might on a double, and also on another double he can do a throw firebomb. Pick a visible enemy fighter within 6 inches of this fighter and roll 2 dice. For each 4 to 5, allocate 1 damage point to that fighter. For each 6, allocate a number of damage points to that fighter equal to the value of this ability. A couple of options with him. Our Fireborn with Sunblade just gets the double Fiery Might ability, so no extras for this one. And our Initiate, depending on the option you choose. Here we go. So these two, no extra abilities except for the Fiery Might. But if you choose this, you get the Throw Firebomb. So that might influence your choice when choosing which variation of this Initiate you go for. And then here we go. So either choice of weapon, you're still going to get the Fiery Might and the Throw Firebomb ability for the second Initiate style. So overall, this is a great warband to feature in Warcry, and obviously it's no coincidence this suits the new Catacombs theme perfectly. Looking at their cards and abilities, this really is a warband you want to get up close and personal with your enemy with. And using these abilities, certainly with the Inferno Priest there, and the Immolator. If you can get in amongst a number of your opponents, get those quads and triples, you're going to deal some huge amounts of damage. I can't wait to get these painted up and run a game with them and see how they play. I think it's going to be really interesting to see how they go up against the Kynite Shadow Stalkers, who've got that extra range, that extra movement, a little bit faster against this kind of slower, more in-your-face warband that we see with Scions of the Flame. Let me know what you think. Have you played with the Scions of the Flame yet? How have they worked out for you? What do you like? What don't you like? What's your favourite ability? Let me know in the comments section below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Look out for more videos coming soon where I'll be painting each of the Warband fighters. I'll also be creating some cool bases that tell a little story influenced by their background and history and lore. Thanks so much for watching the video. Please like if you like it, subscribe for more videos like these, and hit that notification bell to join me next time on Tabletop Skirmish Games.